My sister said I wasn't wedding material and uninvited me 3 days before her big day. What she didn't know was that I'd been recording her real thoughts about me for months. The audio I played at her reception made everyone go silent. Then half the guests left. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. My name is Marcus, and I'm 31 years old. I've been the practice child in my family, the one they figured out parenting on, then moved on to create their masterpiece. My sister Emma, 3 years younger, and everything I apparently wasn't. Growing up, I was grounded for defending myself when Emma broke my things. I gave up my room when she wanted the bigger one. I worked 2 jobs through college while my parents paid for Emma's sorority fees and MBA. But I told myself it was fine. Family is family, right? Emma had been engaged to Brad for 2 years. Brad was condescending, entitled, and convinced his finance degree made him superior. He treated me like charity, always offering unsolicited advice about my career prospects. I'm a paramedic. I save lives for a living. But somehow, that made me less than Brad's corporate job. I'd learned to bite my tongue years ago. The wedding planning had been going on for over a year. Emma had turned into a bridezilla on steroids. Everything had to be perfect, Instagram-worthy, and expensive. She'd asked me to contribute $5,000 to the bar tab. For a paramedic's salary, that was significant, but I agreed to support her big day. I was supposed to be a groomsman. I'd gone to the bachelor party, suffered through Brad's friends making jokes about my job, and even helped set up the venue. Then, 3 days before the wedding, Emma called me. "Marcus, we need to talk," she said, her voice having that particular tone that I'd learned to dread over the years. "What's up, Em?" "It's about the wedding. I've been thinking, and I don't think it's going to work out with you in the wedding party." I blinked, holding the phone away from my ear for a second. "What do you mean?" I think it would be better if you just didn't come to the wedding." The words hit me like a physical blow. "Emma, what are you talking about? I'm your brother. I've been planning this with you for a year. I gave you $5,000 for the bar." "About that money," she said, and I could hear her getting defensive. "That was a gift. You can't just take gifts back." "I'm not trying to take it back. I'm trying to understand why you're uninviting me from your wedding 3 days before it happens." There was a pause, and then she sighed like I was being incredibly unreasonable. "Look, Marcus, I'll be honest with you. This is going to be a really elegant affair. We're going to have photographers, videographers, all of Brad's important colleagues will be there. And you're just not really wedding material." "Wedding material? You know what I mean. You don't really fit the aesthetic we're going for. Your hair is always messy, you don't have a good suit, and frankly, you're kind of awkward in social situations. I can't risk you embarrassing me on the most important day of my life." I was stunned into silence. This was my sister, the person I protected from bullies in middle school, the person I'd driven to prom when her date bailed, the person I'd lent money to more times than I could count. "Emma, I'm your brother, and I love you as a brother. But this isn't about family. This is about my wedding day being perfect. Maybe we can do dinner next week or something to celebrate." I hung up the phone and sat in my apartment, staring at the wall. But here's the thing about being the scapegoat. You develop survival skills. One is documentation. About 6 months earlier, I'd started noticing Emma's version of events never matched reality. She'd tell our parents things I'd supposedly said that were fabricated. She'd make promises then claim she'd never made them. So I started recording important conversations to keep myself sane. What I collected was a greatest hits album of Emma's real thoughts about me, our family, and everyone in her life. Her laughing about how pathetic I was. Her admitting to Brad she only kept me around for errands and money. Her making fun of my job, appearance, apartment, dating life, all behind my back. The crown jewel was from 2 weeks before the wedding. Emma was complaining to her maid of honor Jessica about wedding stress. Honestly, the biggest relief will be when this is all over and I can finally cut Marcus out of my life completely. He's been like this pathetic little puppy following me around for years, and I'm so tired of pretending to care about his feelings. Jessica had asked, "What about your parents? Won't they notice?" Emma had laughed. "Please. They stopped caring about Marcus years ago. They're just too polite to say it. He's the family disappointment, and everyone knows it. The only reason I even included him in the wedding party is because Mom said it would look bad if I didn't. But honestly, I'd rather have literally anyone else standing up there with me." I spent 2 days editing all the recordings into a cohesive narrative. Nothing manipulated, Just Emma's own words arranged chronologically to tell the story of what she really thought about me, our family, and most wedding guests. The wedding was Saturday. I wasn't invited, but Jessica was. She'd become uncomfortable with Emma's behavior and had been the one to tip me off about several lies. Friday night, I messaged Jessica. I have something people need to hear at the wedding. Can you help me? She called immediately. I played her a sample. She was quiet, then said, "What do you need me to do?" The wedding was beautiful. Emma had spared no expense, and I wouldn't have fit the aesthetic at all. But I was there anyway, working as medical standby in an ambulance, reassigned from another event. The universe has a sense of humor. I parked the ambulance in the venue's back lot, close enough to respond if needed, but far enough away that I wouldn't be noticed. I could see the reception through the windows, and I watched as Emma glided around in her white dress, accepting congratulations and playing the part of the perfect bride. Jessica found me during the cocktail hour. "I can't believe she uninvited you," she said, shaking her head. "Your own parents didn't even fight for you." "They never do," I said simply. "So what's the plan?" I handed her a small Bluetooth speaker and a phone with the audio file queued up. During the speeches, after the maid of honor's speech, but before the father of the bride, tell them you have a special surprise message from someone who couldn't be there. Jessica looked nervous. "Are you sure about this?" "I'm sure." The reception was in full swing when it happened. Emma and Brad had their first dance. Everyone had eaten dinner, and the speeches were about to begin. I watched from the ambulance as Jessica stood up with the microphone. "Before we hear from Emma's father," Jessica said, "I have a special message from someone who couldn't be here tonight, but wanted to share some thoughts about the bride." Emma looked confused but pleased. She probably thought it was a message from some college friend or distant relative. Jessica hit play. Emma's voice filled the room, crystal clear through the sound system. "Honestly, the biggest relief will be when this is all over and I can finally cut Marcus out of my life completely. He's been like this pathetic little puppy following me around for years, and I'm so tired of pretending to care about his feelings." The room went dead silent. Emma's face went from confused to horrified in about half a second. But the recording was just getting started. "Marcus is such a loser. I can't believe we're related. He's 31 years old, and he's still working as a paramedic. Like, get a real job, you know? It's embarrassing." Gasps started rippling through the crowd. I could see Emma frantically gesturing to Jessica to stop the recording, but Jessica just stood there, holding the speaker. "And don't even get me started on his apartment. It's like a college dorm room. I'm embarrassed to tell people where he lives. Thank God Brad and I will be moving across the country after the honeymoon. I won't have to deal with Marcus constantly trying to insert himself into our lives." By now, people were starting to murmur. I could see my parents at the head table, looking absolutely mortified. But Emma's voice kept going. "The worst part is that he actually thinks we're close. He thinks I care about his stupid job and his pathetic dating life. I've been faking it for years because Mom said it would look bad if I was mean to him, but I'm so done pretending." The recording moved on to Emma's thoughts about other people at the wedding. She called Brad's mother a dried-up old witch and said she was counting down the days until the bitch dies. She made fun of my father's weight and said my mother was living in denial about how much everyone hates her casserole. She went after the bridesmaids next. "Sarah's so desperate for attention, it's pathetic. And don't even get me started on Kelly. She's gained like 50 pounds since high school, and she's still trying to squeeze into a size 6. It's embarrassing." People were starting to stand up. I could see Sarah, one of the bridesmaids, wiping tears from her eyes as she grabbed her purse and headed for the exit. But the recording wasn't done. Emma's voice continued, detailing her real thoughts about almost everyone in the room. She called her college friends social climbers and said she was only maintaining the friendships because they were useful for networking. She referred to several of the wedding guests as deadweight and made particularly cruel comments about Brad's disabled cousin, saying she tried to get him uninvited because he would ruin the photos. By this point, the room was in chaos. People were standing up, shouting, heading for the exits. Emma was crying. Brad was yelling at Jessica to stop the recording, and my parents were sitting at the head table looking like they'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. The recording ended with Emma's voice saying, "I just can't wait until this wedding is over and I can finally be myself again. I'm so tired of pretending to be nice to people I can't stand." The silence that followed was deafening. Then Jessica spoke into the microphone. "That was Emma's real thoughts about all of you. recorded over the past 6 months. She uninvited her own brother from this wedding 3 days ago because he wasn't wedding material. I thought you all deserved to know what she really thinks about you. What happened next was like watching a dam burst. People started leaving in droves. The bridesmaids were crying. Brad's family was shouting. Several of the groomsmen were consoling their girlfriends who had been mentioned in the recording. I watched from the ambulance as about half the wedding guests filed out of the reception hall. Cars were peeling out of the parking lot. Emma was in the middle of the dance floor, still in her wedding dress, sobbing hysterically. My phone rang. It was my mother. "Marcus, where are you?" "I'm working. This is a disaster. How could you do this to your sister on her wedding day?" "I didn't do anything, Mom." I played Emma's own words, her own thoughts. But it's her wedding day. The wedding day she uninvited me from because I wasn't good enough for her perfect aesthetic. There was a long pause. Then my mother said, "We need to talk about this as a family." "No, we don't. We needed to talk about this as a family years ago, when Emma was treating me like dirt and you were letting her do it. It's too late now." I hung up the phone. Jessica called me about an hour later. "Marcus, I'm so sorry. I had no idea it would be that bad." "How bad was it after I left?" Emma had a complete breakdown. Brad's family left. Most of the wedding party left. Your parents are trying to do damage control, but honestly, I think it's too late. Everyone heard what she really thinks about them. "How's Emma?" "She's not good. She keeps saying you ruined her life, that you're jealous of her success, and this was all about revenge." I sighed. "Of course she does. It's never her fault. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. People deserve to know." But something interesting started happening. People began reaching out with their own stories about Emma. I wasn't the only one who had been on the receiving end of her cruelty. Childhood friends came forward with bullying stories. College roommates shared tales of manipulation. Even some of Brad's friends admitted they'd never liked her. The recording had given people permission to speak their truth. A week later, my cousin David called. He'd been close to Emma growing up and was one of the few family members decent to me. "Marcus, I heard the recording. I never realized how badly Emma was treating you. After everyone left the reception, I overheard Emma talking to your parents. She wasn't apologizing. She was angry that you'd exposed her. She said you were psychotic and that the family needed to deal with you." Even after being caught, Emma couldn't admit she'd done anything wrong. What did my parents say? They were trying to calm her down, but honestly, they seemed more concerned about the family's reputation than anything else. Your mom kept saying they needed to control the narrative and make sure this didn't get out to the extended family. Of course, they were worried about their reputation. They'd spent years enabling Emma's behavior, and now it was all coming back to bite them. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from a lawyer representing Emma and Brad. They were threatening to sue me for emotional distress and invasion of privacy. They wanted me to pay for the wedding costs. I laughed. I forwarded it to my lawyer, who informed me that since I'd recorded Emma legally in my own home and only played her actual words without manipulation, I was within my rights. Empty threat, but it told me everything about Emma's mindset. She still saw herself as the victim. Thanksgiving approached. I wasn't invited. My mother called. "Emma and Brad are coming, and things are tense. We think you should sit this one out. So you're choosing Emma over me. It's about keeping the peace. You know how Emma gets when she's upset. What about what she did to me, Mom?" "That was private, Marcus. Those were private conversations. Private conversations about me. Her brother. Family is complicated. People say things they don't mean when stressed." I realized my mother would never understand. She'd never see Emma's behavior as more than sibling rivalry. "You're right, Mom. Family is complicated. That's why I'm simplifying mine." I hung up, feeling strangely peaceful. For the first time in years, I wasn't dreading the holidays. Thanksgiving and Christmas came and went. I spent them with David and friends who valued me. The traditional family gatherings that usually hosted 20 people were reduced to just my parents, Emma, Brad, and one obligated aunt. Emma and Brad's marriage fell apart 6 months later. The wedding disaster had been the final straw. My parents tried reaching out around holidays, but I kept my distance. They'd made their choice. About a year later, Emma sent a long message that seemed like an apology. She said she'd been in therapy and realized she'd treated me badly. But as it went on, she was still making excuses, still playing victim, still claiming her words were taken out of context. The message ended with Emma asking me to publicly apologize for ruining her special day and help repair the damage to her reputation. I deleted it without responding. It's been 2 years now, and my life has never been better. I'm no longer walking on eggshells around people who claim to love me but treat me like garbage. I've built a new family of choice with people who actually value me. David and I are closer than ever. Jessica and I became good friends. I'm dating a nurse who thinks my job is heroic, not embarrassing. My parents still try to convince me to reconcile with Emma, but I don't care about their updates on her life. I learned that sometimes the people who hurt you most are the ones who claim to love you. Sometimes the cruelest thing is pretending abuse is normal or forgivable. I spent 31 years being the family scapegoat, expected to absorb dysfunction and still smile. I spent 31 years believing love meant accepting mistreatment, that family meant never holding people accountable. I was wrong. Real love doesn't require accepting abuse. Real family doesn't treat members like they're disposable. The recording wasn't about revenge. It was about truth, about refusing to be silent while someone destroyed my reputation behind my back. Emma had built her identity on being better than everyone else, especially me. The recording didn't destroy that image. It revealed the image was never real. I don't regret what I did. I regret it took me so long to do it. If you recognize yourself in my story, if you have a family member who treats you like dirt while expecting unconditional love, you deserve better. You deserve respect and kindness, especially from those who claim to love you most. You don't have to accept mistreatment from family. You don't have to keep secrets to protect people who wouldn't do the same. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. I lost a family when I played that recording, but I gained something more valuable, my self-respect. I gained the knowledge that I will never again accept being treated as less than I'm worth. Emma wanted a perfect wedding surrounded by people who would validate her image. What she got was a moment of truth that stripped away pretense and revealed who she really was. I wasn't wedding material according to Emma's standards. I wasn't polished enough, successful enough, or compliant enough for her vision of perfection. She was right. I wasn't wedding material. I was better than that. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.